Hi again. This is the seventh and last PAD for this week, patch a day. Like I said in the first one, well, I didn't say this, but I'm probably going to run out of ideas pretty quickly. So if you want to give me ideas for patches that you'd like me to make, please put a message on the YouTube channel, and I will, if I can do it in 15 minutes or less, I will do it. All right. Today, this time, I'm going to start off with something where we trigger sample playback using amplitude of input. I'm going to use my microphone input again. So here's my Easy ADC. I guess his big brother, the Easy DAC on the other end of things. I'm going to trigger playback. So I'm going to make a new object for the SF play. And I'm going to make a message to open a file. This time I'm going to open something called vibes vibes-a1.aif, which should be in your MaxMSP folder, in the Max5 folder, vibes-a1.aif. All right. So we can click that message already just to open the file in the SF play. If you didn't already figure this much out in the previous tutorials, holding down the command key or the control key on a PC will allow you to click interact with the screen when it's unlocked. Okay, so we can just hook this up. Fine. We're going to play this back. So what we want is a 1 and a 0 to come in here to start and stop the playback. So the first thing I'm going to use here is an AVG tilde, which is a way to get the average amplitude, and we're going to get the average amplitude of this microphone input. The average tilde, that we don't need a message, we need an object, and for object Barry, and then we're going to have a metronome running at 100 millisecond intervals. So we'll need that. We'll need a toggle to turn on the metronome. And the other thing that's kind of useful when you're using an AVG tilde is to translate or to change that linear amplitude into something exponential, which will be more like what we hear rather than what we don't hear. So we can have a look at this thing already. Maybe we'll put a float object in here, F on the keyboard, just to see what kind of amplitudes we're getting. And then we'll turn this metronome on, turn on the signal network, and you'll see that my ambient sort of no sound values are around -70, and then -20 or so when I make sound. All right, so I'm going to use some kind of logic here so that a new object greater than, I'll say, -50, that'll produce a 1 when the amplitude goes, this decibel level goes above -50, and a 0 when it drops below. Because I don't want to trigger every time, every 100 milliseconds when it is happening, I want to put in here a change object. So there's my change. I can even just hook this up now, so it should trigger this sample playback. Like that. Okay. What'll probably happen to you, because you don't have the you probably don't have your sound. I'm going to turn that off. You probably don't have your sound coming out through your speakers into your microphone. And if you do, well, you're going to have the same problem or the issue that I have. It's not going to stop the playback because the speakers are creating greater than -50 up here when they play back the sample. So it's kind of like not going to happen. So what we might want to do is, if you're trying to make this work so that it turns off the sound or it turns the sound down, let's say when you get to the quiet part of your the quiet part of your speaking, let's say, or instrument input, is we're going to want to change the output amplitude, or use the amplitude output to create it ramped to turn this off and on. So we're going to multiply our SF play output by something, which we're going to create a line, so a new object, line tilde, and we really want it to go to 1, so that we want this line to go to 1 immediately as soon as it hits, as soon as we hit play on the SF play, but we want it to ramp down to 0 before it stops. And so to do that, we're going to need to determine whether this thing is a 1 or a 0. So I'll select the zeros coming from the change, and we can just hook those straight up because we don't need anything else. But for the 1, oh no, that's right, this is the other way around. Oops. Okay, so we can select, oh no, that was right, sorry. Yeah, so for the 1, it's going to go directly to 1 when it starts playing. But for the 0, we're going to want to put in a delay before we stop the SF play. So I'll put a delay del 50, let's say, or 20. Doesn't need to be a long ramp down, but let's do a delay 20 before hitting a message for 0 on the SF play. So 0 in a message box, and that can go into the SF play. And then we'll go, I can just duplicate this message, 0 over 20 milliseconds on our line, so that turns this thing down when we get to the end. Didn't mean to do that. Alright, so now let's just see how this thing works. Of course I can't really tell, because again it's not going to change the fact that this thing still just gets remains to be triggered by the output from the SF play. So yeah, in this case it works exactly the same. Alright, that's it for this patch a day, and this is it for this week, and I'll catch you next week with some more. Cheers.